In Stephanie's own words, as well as being a philanthropist, a public figure, a fitness enthusiast and a mother of three, she is, according to her Twitter bio, a TV villain. The Evolution announcement was just the tip of the iceberg. Stephanie has made a career out of this, and frankly, villain is an appropriate term for years and years of undercutting and overacting. So let's dive into it. I'm Andy for WhatCulture Wrestling, and here are the 8 most ridiculous Stephanie McMahon ego trips. Number 8. Taking credit for the women's revolution. The shift in attitudes towards women's wrestling in WWE over the past few years has been remarkable and the product of a lot of different people's grueling work, but not Stephanie McMahon. Yet that's precisely what Stephanie would have you believe as she continually places herself as some kind of driving force, firing off platitudes at the roster while stealing the spotlight for herself. McMahon only just stopped short of calling herself the 5th horsewoman, and frankly, we wouldn't put that past her. Her narcissism totally eclipses the great work put forth by Charlotte, Becky, Bayley and Sasha, and before them, the likes of AJ Lee, Paige and Natalya. But, you know, thanks Steph. Thank you for inventing women's wrestling. Number 7. Taking over ECW. July 9th, 2001 was one of the most memorable episodes of Raw ever as WWE pressed a hard reset on the entire invasion angle. It was the night the Alliance was born, with Paul Heyman's ECW swerve turning to join Shane McMahon and WCW, and it was all going great until Stephanie was unveiled as ECW's new head honcho. The only thing more sickening than her smirk when the reveal came was knowing that she'd scripted the whole thing herself, and the move essentially ensured that the invasion would turn out to be nothing more than another McMahon family drama. Number 6. Scolding Aj Lee. Of all the burials Stephanie has unleashed over the years, this on a June 2013 episode of Raw was one of the worst. AJ Lee was out talking to the crowd, putting herself over in a promo when out came Steph, who spat, and I quote, "I'm a McMahon. Nobody does crazy better than us, and you may be the Divas champion, but please remember that I can take all of that away from you if I want to. You won't have a job anymore." Then Caitlyn came out, and to make matters worse, Stephanie incinerated her too, saying, "I'm gonna give you a bye this time, but don't ever interrupt me again." Now this might not sound as bad as some of the tongue lashing she's dished out to, say, Kurt Angle over the past few years, but just consider the beautiful irony of her trashing the stars of a division she now claims to champion. Number 5. Women's Champion. To be fair, giving Stephanie McMahon a short Women's Championship reign to antagonise the fans would have worked well, but short is the key word here, and her run was anything but. Stephanie held the belt for 146 bloody days, during which the belt was no more than a piece of jewellery. It was just a trinket, and to make matters worse, it meant the woman in that division had absolutely nothing to fight for. Lita eventually took the championship and ended the misery, but it took 3 separate chances, all of which were riddled with interference. And unsurprisingly, these were the only 3 defences of Stephanie's entire reign. Number 4. The main event. WrestleMania 18 was a tragically fitting end to Chris Jericho's undisputed title reign as he played the 3rd wheel in his own main event, with the real feud being between his manager Stephanie, who was just divorced from Triple H in storyline at the time, and the Game. Y2J and Steph had spectacular chemistry as rivals, but oddly none as allies. Now there were pitches for them to become an item at the time, but unsurprisingly the power couple shot these down. The build-up was all about her, the match was all about her, and Triple H's pedigree to Steph was the match's undisputed climax. The undisputed title and Chris Jericho, unfortunately, were just window dressing. Number 3. Beating Brie Bella. Effectively an extension of her injured husband's feud with The Authority, Brie Bella vs Stephanie McMahon started logically and could have progressed well had Brie actually got some retribution, but surprise surprise, she did not. Alas, Stephanie's ego took over and she continually presented herself as somebody able to somehow outperform a full-time roster member despite her own limited experience. And worst of all, she won. The match itself was used as nothing more than a vehicle to further the brewing tension between Brie and her sister Nikki, allowing Stephanie to squeeze out an opportunistic victory, once again coming out on top. Number 2. Spanked by John Cena. Now, depending on how old you are, you may only know about John Cena spanking Stephanie's behind in GIF form, but believe it or not, she was responsible for scripting herself in the most nauseating segment in WWE SmackDown history. She was there, cutting a trademark promo when out came Cena, still in his rapper gimmick, and cut a quick freestyle about a wet dream he had about Daddy's little girl. Lowlights included Cena losing his concentration while staring at her breasts, an inability to prevent himself from diddling himself while looking at Stephanie, and of course, the spanking, which triggered celebrations greater than even when he won the world title for the first time 2 years later. And the worst part? She wrote it herself. She wrote it herself. F***ing hell. And at number 1, towering idiot. Vince McMahon, to his credit, was at his absolute best on September 13th, 2001, when just 2 days after September 11th, he rallied the SmackDown crowd into recovering, healing, and trying to get on with normal life after a huge global catastrophe. But his daughter, unfortunately, well, she made a meal of it. While the rest of WWE's personnel stared down the camera with respectful mourning, Steph took the time to give a rundown of the time the US government tried to convict Vince during the 1994 steroid trial. Comparing those supposed government villains to plane hijacking terrorists, she made a tactless move to score points for her family. It was really quite sickening, and the fact that WWE even let this air shows just how small the McMahon family bubble really was. So that's our list, but can you think of any other time Stephanie McMahon stepped over the line? Head down to the comment section below and let us know. And once you've done that, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, then maybe check out some of the videos currently floating around my head. And once you've done that, head over to whatculture.com/WWE and check out some of our great articles. You'll have a great time. I've been Andy, and I'll see you later.